I'm continuing my summer slasher and camper themed movie watching, and up next is The Final Terror from 1983. When I was a kid, I remember seeing this one to rent at Yardbirds, which was a family shopping center with a video store inside. Now, for whatever reason, I never chose it back then. Honestly, I think it had to do with the cover and pictures on the back of the box. It just didn't impress me much as a kid. But looking at it now, I think it's got some nice artwork. The Final Terror is about some forest rangers who take a group of young people on a weekend camping trip deep into the woods. On the way, they pass a conveniently located mental institution. Wonder if that will figure in later. Now, one of the rangers is a real weirdo, and the guy apparently doesn't own a toothbrush. So after arriving at their secluded camping spot, they are stalked by something. Seriously, I'm not going to get into spoilers, but the killer in this is pretty unique. It's like the forest is coming to life and stalking them. It's very cool. One scene has a character using an outhouse. Let it be known, I'd rather drop a deuce in the bushes and wipe my ass with a pine cone rather than use a nasty outhouse. Plus, this one has a severed head in there, so there's that. At one point in the film, their group bands together and fights back, and it all kind of reminded me of an allegory for the Vietnam War. A military-obsessed character even mentions Vietnam at one point. Interesting for an 80s slasher movie. Now, one thing that sets this apart from most other slashers is the amount of talent in front of and behind the camera. Just looking at the cast, there's a ton of familiar faces here. Probably most famous, Joe Pantoliano and Daryl Hannah, before they hit the big time. But to me, the biggest deal was Adrian Zmed, who would go on to co-star in the greatest 80s cop show ever made, T.J. Hooker with William Shatner. Lots of heavy hitters were involved behind the scenes as well, most notably Ronald Shusett, who co-wrote the original Alien, and director Andrew Davis. Now, Davis would go on to have a pretty prolific career with mainly action movies, but he got his start here, which is cool. Although the body count is low, the film has excellent atmosphere. It's very well directed, and the score is fantastic as well. Acting is great all around, but I did find most of the characters to be kind of obnoxious, to be honest. Not a huge problem for an 80s slasher, but I wish they had been a bit more likable, especially since the acting was so solid. There's some nice gore here and there, but again, the body count is fairly low. Now, apparently the makers knew they didn't have enough death scenes, since the opening 2 murders were actually added after production. The lower body count didn't bother me, but by the end of the film, the number of survivors was definitely a little strange. But overall, it's a solid and unique entry in the pantheon of 80s slasher movies. Now, I don't think it quite lived up to its full potential, and it wasn't as fun as a lot of early 80s slashers, but it's good stuff. Scream Factory put out an excellent Blu-ray years ago, complete with an audio commentary and cast and crew interviews. Apparently, the original film elements have been lost, so they were forced to use various different theatrical film prints for their release, but it looks and sounds great, and it's still available to buy. So track down a copy and check this one out, and let me know your thoughts in the comments.